Hello everyone, so in this video let us talk about another problem from LeetCode. The problem name is minimum remove to make valid parentheses. Okay, so let us go with the problem statement first. So you're given a string of you're given a string S of open brackets and close brackets and lowercase English characters. Fine. Your task is to remove the minimum number of parentheses, either the open or the closed brackets, in any position so that the resulting parenthesis string is valid and you return any of the valid strings. So that's the whole problem. Now, so what you can understand that is that the characters like the A, B, C, D, whatever, like lowercase alphabets you have doesn't play any role. They should only be in the same order. I can only manipulate or talk about or do some changes in the opening brackets and the closing brackets only. Okay. Now, in all the parentheses type of problems, not 100%, but generally you can use a stack or you can use a pointer like some variable to keep track of how you can say that a particular parenthesis string is valid or not. There's a very good trick. I'll tell you in this example so that it will become useful in all the other problems. So whenever you see parenthesis type problem, you can try to use this trick. Okay. So the thing is like how you can say that whether a parenthesis is valid or not. So the parenthesis is valid if for every closing there's a for every opening bracket there's some closing bracket, and they should be in some certain order also. So let's say that if I do some opening, there's some opening bracket and one more opening bracket, then I can do a closing bracket, then again closing. So this is a perfectly fine. Then I can do again opening, closing, opening, closing. This is also perfectly valid. So what you can see that this is a complete valid thing. How you can check that at any point this is not violating any rule? You can just take some value. You can just take some value, let us say counter. Okay, and this counter value will update as I move along this string from left to right. Okay, whenever I see an opening bracket, I will increment the counter. The initial counter value is 0. Okay, and whenever I move from left to right, the counter value will increase. Whenever I see an opening bracket, I will increment the counter. Whenever I see a closing value, I'll decrement the counter. Okay, the only catch is that this counter value should not go less than 0, which if it goes less than 0, then it is invalid actually. So let us try to see and visualize it more easily. If I move from left to right, if I see an opening bracket here, then I'll just increment the value, or just let us take an I also. Let us take an I am on this point. It is an opening bracket, increment the value by 1. My I now move to this point. So again, the value will become 2. Now when I go on closing bracket, which means that this tells us like how many opening brackets are there. Now when I see a closing bracket, which obviously cancel out an opening bracket like this, so it's benefit to just decrease this value by 1 again. It will become 1. Now again go to the next value. It will become negative again, like closing bracket, just decrease this value, it will become 0 again. So whenever I hit a 0 again, it means that till this point all the bracket sequence is valid. But if there is some bracket sequence like this, open, closing, one more close. So if I see one more close, which means that this is invalid, because for 2 opening there are 3 closing. That's an invalid point, because I cannot go less than 0. -1 is not possible. I can go more than 0. Like more than 0 means that I can go, if I append opening brackets, that is fine. Like if I have like multiple opening brackets, like 5 opening brackets, the counter will become 5 eventually. Like I'm moving from left to right. For every opening, it will increment the value. But for decrementing, I cannot go less than 0. Though this is also not valid point. Like this is also not valid sequence, but we'll talk about that later. But going less than 0 is invalid only. Okay. So that is how like you can eventually move along the bracket sequence, and it will move to here, increment +1, +1, -1, +1, -1, -1. It will balance out correctly. In the end, if my counter value becomes 0, then it's a good to go. Okay. Now the only thing is like how we can check out for this current problem. Now what you can do is I'll use the same strategy. For the alphabets, I don't do anything, but for the bracket sequence, if I have opening bracket, I will keep on appending the opening bracket. Again, if I have closing bracket, I will keep on appending the closing bracket. At any point, let's say I have one opening bracket, one closing bracket, and the counter value till this is 0, because open, close, open, close. So it is 0. If I again got a closing bracket, I will not insert that into a string that I'm forming that should be valid, because I have to remove out some brackets that are not making it valid. This bracket is not making it valid because this is creating out a negative value in the counter, because till now the counter is 0, and for this it is becoming -1 because it is a closing bracket. Okay, so I will not append that into the answer I'm building. Fine. If I again now see an opening bracket, I will take that Okay, and then if I have one more opening bracket, I'll take that. I have a closing bracket, take that. But this is removed, and that is why like this becomes perfectly valid again. But so that's it all. Like, and the string you have A, B, C, D, just keep on appending that. Fine. The only catch is, let's say that I have all the, what you can say, balanced string up till now. Let's say like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now you have 3 open brackets. So in the end, if your counter is, let's say, greater than 0, it has 3 values. This 3 counter value means that there are 3 open brackets, and we do not want that also, because if I have those, there are no closing brackets for those. So to make the rest of the string valid, what you have to just do is just to remove out these 3 opening brackets. So what you can do is, because moving from left to right, we are completely forming out a valid, what you can say, string, but maybe in some later half we are encountering out some opening brackets that are not making it good. So what you can directly do is, you can just iterate from right to left now, and because you have 3 extra opening brackets, you can just remove out 3 opening extra brackets. Whatever open brackets you'll encounter the first, you can just remove out those. That's it. Now after removing out those, when the counter becomes 0, now you have a complete valid string. And that's overall logic here. Don't talk about the characters A, B, C, D. Those are not like valuing much, but that's the overall logic here. Let us talk about the code part now. So we have an open, you can name it a counter variable. This is the answer string that we want to build. Now iterate over every character in this string that you have. If you have an open bracket, increment the open, because I've seen 1 open brackets, and append that particular character in the answer that we are building. If you are closing, now closing has 2 cases, what I've told you. If the open brackets are still there and there's a closing bracket, if the open is greater than 0, which means that we have still more open brackets which we can match with the closing brackets, we can just subtract my open values and append that bracket. But if we do not have any open value, which means that the number of open brackets are already 0 and we have 1 closed bracket, that is not valid. So I will just continue not append that character anywhere. Okay. And if it is not an open bracket, not a closed bracket, it will be a character. I will just directly append those character inside the string that I'm building. No check for that. So there's only checks for open closing brackets, nothing for characters. After this, we have a valid string that might have some open brackets left, but all the characters and closing brackets are completely fine. So what you can now do is, you have to form a new modified string in which only the opening brackets that are not removed have to be removed. So if the open brackets are greater than 0 in the end, after doing this whole operation, what you'll do is you'll move from back to front, that is from last character to the front character, and wherever you see an open bracket and you have still more open brackets to be left, you will just subtract out an open bracket and you will not append that open bracket into the string that I'm forming. Else you will take all the characters and form a new string, and because you are now moving from right to left and appending it in this manner, you have to reverse it in the end, because it will be reversed. Okay, and so this is the overall logic. If there are some open brackets that are left, if there's no open brackets left, then the answer is this only, like nothing much changed, and that's the overall answer. So you can just go over the code again. This part is, and this part, that is pretty simple. If you just go over the code, if you understood the logic, you can also implement it by your own way. It's highly recommended for you. That's the overall logic and the code part for this problem. If you still have any doubts, you can mention down in the comment box. Thank you for watching this video till the end. I will see you next one. Till then, keep coding and bye.